Hey everyone, Case here, and welcome to the 2025 content, finally getting to the channel, and we're starting off with Milsim West The Raid. Now before we begin, I want to talk about a couple of things. First off, my camera work during this event was not up to par to my satisfaction, and unfortunately a lot of the event that I recorded just wasn't particularly good footage. You'll see as we go through the video. Due to this, what we're going to do is show you what footage I do have and add a pretty decent bit of commentary to explain what this event was from beginning to end. After that, there's going to be a more dedicated AAR at the end where I can further share some of my thoughts. Usually I would separate these two types of videos, but again, due to the footage situation, I'm just going to combine them for this video. So with that said, let's begin. Milsim West The Raid was a 24-hour Milsim West event that occurred in North Carolina in January this year. Being both in my home state and me really wanting to do a Milsim West for a while now, having only a 24-hour event was very tempting, as it gives you the ability to get your feet wet and to see what at least part of the experience is like without having to be dedicated to the full 40-hour event. Due to this, not just myself, but many of the players who did attend this were new Milsim West players, so that was definitely an interesting player pool for a Milsim West event. Though there is a caveat that needs to be said, which is the weather. We had a bit of a flash, I guess you would call a snowstorm of sorts here in North Carolina a couple days before the event. We still had the event, but the snow was definitely a surprise, which definitely impacted player turnout. I will talk about that more at the second portion of this video. Okay, first we had a general safety brief of all factions involved, basic chrono, whatnot. Then we separated into each of our factions on each side of the staging area. Got ourselves issued ammo, tried to quickly collect into what squads we were supposed to be in and meet each other if we had not known each other prior. Again, get in formation and begin our ruck march. The ruck march itself was, I would say, 1.3 miles. It was longer than a mile, felt less than a mile and a half. It really wasn't too bad. In addition, a lot of the march was on paved road for about half of it, so that helped, especially with the surprise snow that occurred earlier that week. As you can see, there is a fantastic bit of helmet scrim covering half of the screen with my helmet cam. For this event, I use a variety of recording footage: GoPro, helmet cam, scope cam, and then an NVG recorder. And the helmet cam I was trying to use for a lot of B-roll, such as this, only to find in post-review that I had helmet scrim covering half the footage. So, awesome. After arriving in the AO proper, take a knee, go to the designated patrol base and begin establishing that. It was pretty chaotic, and a lot of us who were new to this did not know what was going on, as very little guidance was given. It was really between the cadre and the squad leaders to kind of figure it out and herd the rest of us. But after a minute or two, we got things going, and we did get into a triangular patrol base, at which point we got the thumbs up to begin digging our fighting positions, which is one of many elements unique to Milsim West. Yes, you can dig your own fighting positions. Yes, you do need to bring the E-tool. It has been about 6 years since I've dug a fighting position, so needless to say, it was a little rough for me. Though I did make one. It was essentially just a giant pit. Not particularly ideal, but, is what it was. I would say they gave us between an hour and a half to 2 full hours between establishing the patrol base and then receiving some sort of report of contact at the sister patrol base. So that gave us a pretty decent amount of time to reinforce what we had and dig decent fighting positions and kind of get settled in into the AO, which was nice. Okay, after a couple hours, we start to receive reports from our sister patrol base that we're seeing enemy movement in the wood line. Now with that said, let's take a look at the map. This is a basic map we got for the AO. As you can see here, marked on the northeast is ours and our sister's rough patrol base locations. We had a lake in between and a partially hardened path connecting us. A pretty decent location, at least especially for ours, because it was kind of tucked away in a corner near the lake, which meant you could not particularly flank us very easily without us detecting you, and we could use the road to quickly exfil and infill out of the patrol base into other areas of the AO. Now what you're about to see is the first major engagement of the event. You're going to have a group from both of the NATO platoons heading into this large LDA or linear danger area that cuts the AO in half, where we're going to try to shift across it and point toward the opposite wood line where we saw Rust 4 movement. I guess they thought it was on the main road as you see here on the map, which kind of makes sense. However, as we keep going, we start to see the movement shift to the northwest, so we started shifting that way, at which point we see Rust 4 cross over, leading a small element left behind on their side of the woods and a large element that crossed over into ours, causing us to shift into a battle line that looks something similar to this.
Left side. I don't want to get caught up in all this. Alright, so the center is our front, about 15, 20 meters. Watch the right hand side. Right hand side is center is on the side of the road. Alright, let's go with them. Yeah. Ryan, you good with that? Go on the other. You're up. All right. Left hand. Let's go, let's fucking go, come on! What the fuck is? Don't be the last one! Hey, get up here, up to the front. You in the back. You in the back. Motherfucker. Hey, get on the wood, come on. Hey, get on it. Hey, fuck this wood shit, get on line. Hey, guys, get on line, move, go! Move up, go in the line. Hey, they're right there! Right. Contact front! Squad cross the LDA! Distance unknown! Oh, shooting at me! Hey, there might be a parallel to us across the LDA. We're going right. Hit. You're good. Thanks, boss. Hey, I think we got a guy across this LDA parallel to us shooting at us. Oh. Medic.
Yeah, so for our first engagement, I guess it could have gone worse, but yeah, I wouldn't say that went particularly well for me, but you know, hey, it's a first for everything for these Milsim West events for me, and I did not particularly think I was going to walk out as an expert, so there's the first taste of it. It was kind of weird that we maneuvered in like giant open area in daytime, but you know, hey, is what it is. Okay, so after that, we went back to patrol base, regrouped, got some of the medic water for us who needed it, and then went back to reinforcing the patrol base. At this point, it starts to get dark. I have an NVG recorder on a PVS-14, which is what you're going to be seeing a lot of this footage of. And next we'll begin the second major engagement I participated in. Looking back at the map, what this mission was supposed to be was a recon mission where we tried to pinpoint the enemy's patrol bases. We had a general idea of the enemy's patrol base being somewhere over here, based on hints from the cadre and also AAR comments from the previous engagement and the direction of travel Rust 4 came from. So we did think it was somewhere around here. We just needed to pinpoint where, and we wanted to make sure that Rust 4 did not discover that we know where they are. Now, to achieve this, we sent out maybe 12, 14 of us perhaps. It was a plussed up squad. I was fairly expendable for this event, so I was up front serving as point man, while the guy next to me was the actual navigator, going through some of the apps and maps that he had to kind of try to find where we are. Now, we're moving to travel. We tried to avoid the LDA at first, instead going deep on our side of the wood line, and then crossing directly straight across the LDA, and then moving forward. Now, we would actually cross a little earlier than we thought due to detecting a light source through the woods. I'll get to that later in the second part of the video, and then we would go straight this way. Now, as we were moving, what we found was another squad moving this way. It was our sister platoon doing a seemingly similar mission. I don't know if cadre in both platoons planned that or not, but we as squad members going out on the movement did not know that. No friendly fire incident, but that would come into play in a moment. As we continue to move forward, we continue to hear and see more and more potential evidence of the enemy patrol base, while the sister platoon cut further deep across the LDA this way. It would eventually make contact with the enemy patrol bases here and here. At least that's what we heard in terms of the contact. Given all the evidence we were hearing, we said, okay, yep, that is where it is. We started to push forward. We did make contact because they knew we were there at that point as well. Try to put some pressure away from our sister platoon, who were a little more aggressive, and then we peeled out after a couple minutes with minimal casualties. Despite the more climactic end to that, we were supposed to take our time, be deliberate, be slow, and we were. And for that, it was a pretty interesting mission. With all that said, as for me recording the actual engagement, I do not have it. I don't know if I fumbled the button in the dark or what, but I just have movement toward the objective and not actually on the objective, which freaking sucks. Again, I was very frustrated with myself, the camera quality for this event, but that was our second engagement. Okay, going into the third major engagement I participated in. Our patrols, both our sister platoon and ours, and Rust 4 would start to pepper each other. As this point, both started to figure out the general area where each patrol base was. I think our sister platoon got hit pretty hard, though I'm unaware of QRF ever being needed. They did survive throughout the night without being overrun. And then we also sent patrols out to be aggressive on the Rust 4 platoon. With that said, I know at least twice they did come pretty close to us and start attacking. One was near our road on the southern portion of our patrol base. They kind of peppered us with blank fire. Nothing really to worry about. And then later in the night, I would say around midnight or so, they actually did a pretty bold move. I don't know if they went far this way or they snuck behind the sister platoon's patrol base, but they attacked us from essentially our rear, which props to them. That probably was not easy to get in that position. They attacked us. I think one guy crossed like a yard into our line after killing one or two of us, but we were able to counterattack pretty quick and push them out. Of course, again, I don't know if I hit the wrong button on the damn recorder or not, but I got the build up to it and some after, but not the actual engagement itself, which freaking sucks. So again, not much to show there, but I can at least explain what's going on throughout the night. At this point, it's getting past midnight. We already decided around 0600 or so, we're going to move out to a different location of the AO. So with that point, we had some time to go in and out. I think we did one more patrol to the enemy patrol base I was not a part of. and then the rest of us kind of hunkered down for the night, where things started to die down, at least for our patrol base. I think the sister patrol base had one more attack, and that was about it. I think the cold really sapped it out of us on both sides. I'll talk about it in the second portion of the video, but attrition was very rough for this event. A lot of guys would leave in the middle of the night and not return.
Suddenly get a little winded, you know.
Okay, going into the morning, we pack up our patrol base, clean it up, try to leave no evidence. Rebuck for maybe a mile down to this location, or at least somewhere close to it. Drop our rucks and then maneuver down to this wood line here, where we're put online and briefed that the enemy Rust 4 are somewhere over here. Likely their second patrol base. Throughout the night, I thought both were over here. It might have just been one, because from what we saw later on, it looks like they're pretty established over here, so it could have been their second patrol base. The objective to this mission was to utilize the full force of both platoons to rush across this field and assault the enemy patrol base. Now, as you can see in the footage, it is an open field. However, there is actually pretty decent waist-high shrubbery and brush to give us some cover and concealment. And unlike the other engagements up to this event, I thankfully did have plenty of footage of this one, thank God. Something I will say, as you're going to see, at least in this first part of this engagement, is I am a bit timid at times. This was because prior to stepping off, I was given a couple of medic water bottles and told I was a pseudo CLS for the squad, and they did not want me up on the front at first to get shot. And then as the engagement got more aggressive, they told me to get online, which was counter to the guidance they told me earlier, so there's some hesitancy there, but I shape up later on.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, I'm good. All right. Okay, come on, let's go around. All right. Go. Push that shit, come on! Fuck that! Right side to press! Right side to press! Left side, push! Push it, you motherfuckers! Push it! Fucking push it! Right side, pick up your position. Lay rounds, lay rounds, lay rounds. Evan, it's on you. Hey, you two on my right side. Look left, look left. Rest of you guys, pick it up, pick it up.
Let's go, let's go.
Come on, you bro. Go, go, go. Let's go, let's go. Push it, push it, push it, push it.
The patrol base as well. Shift left.
Yep. Push down the road. Push down the road.
All right.
Push down the fucking road.
Roger. See these fuckers?
I'm dry, cover me.
Got you covered.
Let's go, push, push, push. Hurry up.
Reloading.
Bound up, bound up, bound up. Push it. Keep bounding up, bounding up. Let's go. Okay, on your pick, keep pushing.
All right. Flank fire straight ahead.
Up, let's go.
Straight ahead. Who's calling for a medic?
Somebody get that man over here!
Where is he?
You don't run, you're the CLS, somebody else does it.
Yeah.
I might be able to get him. Hey! What?
So what you're seeing here is a bit of a mix-up that I try to correct immediately afterwards. So Milsim West medic rules: if you get shot enough times, whether it's 1 time without body armor, 2 times with body armor, and you run out of tourniquets to use, you need a water bottle to get back into the fight. So what you see me do is I toss the water bottle, realize my mistake mid-toss, and then run over to the guy and hang out near him until he finishes drinking the water.
Got your tourniquet? Hey, I'm dragging you back. Come here. Give me an arm.
Break? Fuck no. I'm out.
All right, you good?
Hey! Get him up! Get out of here!
Get him out of here? All right. Let's go.
Break contact! Break contact! Move! Break! Move!
Can we keep pulling back?
What? Yeah, let's hold break contact.
All right. Let's keep moving then. I have to stay with you.
How's it going, bud? You having fun?
Yep.
Where are we breaking contact to?
Last one. I need more. Who had?
Does anybody else need it? Because I'm toasted.
Now you got the thermals, man. Drink up. Come on. Hey, where'd that other Aussie go who had the other 3 water bottles?
What about those dudes right there?
He just needs a buddy aid. Okay, get him up.
Oh, this is fucking rough. Right. Okay, it's CCP?
Yeah, pretty much. I'll leave it to you. I'm out of bottles.
Got 40 in here.
Nice. All
Grab your
right.
bottles.
Is that? Native pulling back, guys. Drink up when you get out of here. Grab that CCP and start pulling back.
Can I throw this to you?
Yep. Hey, pick up and go, guys. Let's go.
Case, cover that corner. Pull back right till you do.
All right.
Okay, go. 2 minutes up. Okay. Let's go. Move.
Moving. All right.
2 minutes. Go. We got rush 4 on our corner.
We gotta go. Let's go. Hey,
Go down the hill.
down the hill. Let's go. We got Russ for pursuing.
Over there. Good. Yep. Pull out. Hey.
What the fuck? Where?
Hey, couple of you guys. Don't face that brick.
Come here. Okay.
Start covering.
We got shot.
Keep going down the hill.
Yep.
Hey, 100 yards. Hey, going down the hill. Let it. Go. Keep going. No, we gotta pull him. Sit up. Cover fire right now. I'll drag him.
Hey, grab the casualties. Go. Go.
Watch out for tail. Oh, which way you going?
Hey, pick up. I'm grabbing you. Let's go. Let's go.
So yeah, as you guys just saw, we attacked. We then decided to pull back. Russ 4 tried to keep the aggression and follow us, particularly on the lake side where they got us on their flank for a couple of our guys. Kind of a disorganized movement, even across the open field. Most of our guys were able to collect and get back to this fallback point in the nearby tree line. It was very strange, right? Again, I'm still getting used to these events and their rule set. First, we try to bring these guys back to a casualty collection point where we try to get them some water bottles. Then we get pulled back again. So it's like, okay, well, for the guys who didn't finish your water bottles, I guess we'll have to transport you with someone who's alive. And then we move them to a new location to get the water. And then we're told by cadre, hey, this area's under fire. We can't allow these guys to get medic because part of the medic rules is with the water bottles, you're not supposed to do it in the middle of the firefight. It's supposed to be further behind the line. Like, okay, got it. Then we can take in fire. Return fire, and then bring everyone back here. A bit chaotic, to say the least, but there is fun in that as well. So.
Blake, let's go. Come on. Get out of here, man. Final protective line.
Once everyone we collected at this point, we tried to defend the area the best we could. We passed out mags to each other as BBs were starting to get low. At which point we did have a couple of Rust 4 come forward and poke at us. We returned fire, took out a couple of them.
Right there.
I see these two on the road. I can't reach them.
Look. Look where the bush is moving. Right up on us.
At which point things start to calm down for a bit. And what we started to see was a lot of Rust 4 movement across this road paralleling this pond. At this point what we decided to do was cross through the wood line and get online here and move forward to try to meet them in the open field. We tried to shift our line this direction to get them on the road, which we partially did. However, they reacted and got online as well, and the line shifted to essentially us fighting slightly uphill in the open field, while Rust 4 mainly in the wood line shooting down. Now, in my position, me and a couple others were on the leftmost side, as you're going to see in this engagement.
That's where 2-3 is.
Okay, so let's push this line out. We're too far back.
Push forward, right. Looks like guys are crossing that way. Want to join them? You good? What was that?
Get on the line over here. Go over here.
Okay. Where?
Yeah, hey, cross past there.
Yep. What's this moving up? Hey, watch out! Hey, we got one right here. Hold your feet.
Yeah!
Hey, we got one down.
Fire!
And we got two right here.
Ah!
Hey, I think I just went black on ammo. We got two guys about to cut this corner, all right?
Case. One. Case. Two.
All right.
Get that gun up.
Yeah, I'm done. Ah! 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 He's right there behind that tree, Behind that tree on our left. Now I'm black on ammo.
Here's another one of those just weird moments during the event. One Rust 4 guy was able to flank pretty far to our left. I see them and engage him. However, at least I think I ran out of BBs. I'm using a couple different mags others have given me at this point, and one of them did not work at first, so I didn't load in the other one. And I said, okay, well, I'm out of BBs. This guy's probably going to get me because I'm assuming he has BBs. How about I just blank fire, dry fire in his direction to try to focus fire on me, try to make him waste some ammo. I don't know if the guy was bluffing or if his gun didn't have good range either, but he actually did not hit me. And during this essentially fake engagement, I said, well, wait a minute, let me go back to the other mag. You realize it was, you just had to hold the mag for it to feed. So once I figured that out, it took me a minute, but I eventually got the guy and shifted fire back to the original line of contact. Just one of those weird moments at this event that you don't always see at other games, which, I mean, I walked away having a good time, so it worked out, I guess.
Alright. I got the guy behind the tree. Two still on the trail. Alright. You got one and two, but I think there's still one right here.
There's still one right there.
He's up. Go. Fuck. Where? Yep. Front. He's down. You good?
Yep.
You need medic or buddy aid?
Buddy aid.
You come with me. I'm moving toward him. Trying to get where?
Medic!
You good? Send it. I'm okay. Hey, blank fire straight ahead. Wood line, 12 o'clock. 150 feet.
Hey, fall back to better cover the timber, guys. Friendly's in front.
Who wants to fall back?
Friendly's front.
Yep.
Ah!
Hey, our friendlies get shot?
Yeah.
Alright, fuck.
Ah!
We falling back all the way to tree line?
Fall back to the tree line.
Alright, I'm moving.
Let's wait up for him. He's up.
Oh, okay. I got contact front. Hey, I'm about to get schwacked. Getting out of here. Enemy in the field coming toward me. My 1 o'clock. 100 feet. And we got blank fire on the tree line.
Okay, so at this point we are on the leftmost side of our line, and we have at least 1 to 2 guys trying to shoot at us with another guy with blank fire honing in on us. Now, in accordance to Milsim West rules, you don't have to call blank fire, but you do have to react to contact to it. So in this situation, with us being an open field, we couldn't just stand up and run away in our attempt to pull back. Instead, we could either A, die, or B, crawl away, and we preferred to stay alive. So what we began doing is crawling and bounding over this thick brush to try to get to the lower part of the field where we could then maneuver and get out of there. This is another example of a Milsim West rule, one that is heavily based on sportsmanship and honor, but if you follow it and embrace the LARPing aspect of the blank fire, it really is a fun element to it, meaning you're able to still have some sort of impact against the enemy players via the use of blank fire, even if it's outside the range of airsoft guns. Because, again, we couldn't just pick up and run. We had to actually fight for it and crawl our way back while being pursued by individuals who did have airsoft guns. So, again, Milsim West isn't, but one that I found fun, and this is one of the many reasons you would go to Milsim West event that you would not get at another airsoft experience.
Yeah, I got one. Need me to toss it to you? Where are you? Raise your hand. All right. Pick it up. Come on. Woo. Okay.
At this point, the left side of our line has collapsed into our final defensive position in this ditch separating the two fields. I had one misfeeding magazine left.
You good?
One guy next to me had a gun that broke when he fell, so it's pretty much useless. One of our squad members was down to a mag or two. We were in a pretty desperate situation, and then thankfully they called index, so we, survived by the skin of our teeth there.
Yeah.
And with that was the end of part 1 of this video. So
we survived. Now we got to go to Lost and Found and have that drug deal, because good God, do I have about a dump pouch full of other people's mags right now.
Hey everyone, Casey here, and this is going to be the second part of the video where I break down and have more of a conversation about the event. Sometimes I do these for certain events, and when I do, I usually do a separate video. However, with the amount of footage I did get from this event, I figured I would just go ahead and combine them. Now for this portion, I'm going to break it down into 3 parts. One is an AAR comment of what are some things that the event could improve on, what are some things I thought were pretty interesting specific to this event, and then what are my personal AAR comments and observations, because most of my AAR comments isn't actually about the event itself, because most parts of the event went pretty well. Instead, it's more of what did I learn from it and what can I improve on from some of those lessons learned. So let's start with the first one. The issues I had with the event could be broken down to 4 main categories. The first one wasn't even Milsim West's fault, which was the weather. In North Carolina, we had a weird, I guess you call it a snowstorm in central and coastal regions of North Carolina. The mountains is kind of normal. Rest of the state, not much at all. It really put a hamper on things. The temperature was low 20s, high 30s at night, and then 40s in the daytime. That would have been a lot more manageable if it wasn't for the snow on the ground. Once the snow hit the ground, things kind of got a little more cold when you're down there, and you would get very wet as well, and that would become a problem later at night. Point being, unfortunately, there was a lot of players who bought tickets who refused to give the event a chance because of the weather, or because they couldn't get there. Props to Milsim West to continuing to do the event, even in spite of the snow. But unfortunately, that did hinder our numbers a good bit. Again, that's not Milsim West's fault, but is what it is. Second one is the numbers issue, which I've already been bleeding into. Main reason was the weather, and that was really bad on the attrition. I don't know how many people actually bought tickets for this event. It felt like almost 200 might have showed up, and by the time we got to the final AAR at the end of the event, there might have been 100 of us left. I mean, it really felt like almost 50% attrition, both in general. NATO side, I've heard the same was pretty similar to Rust 4, so that was pretty rough. It definitely sucks seeing people leaving the field early, and that's not very, it's particularly demoralizing, right? But again, it's not really much Milsim West can do about that. People buy the tickets, you can't force them to stay, so it is what it is. Third issue, this one is actually a little more critique of the event, which is the ammo issue. So something unique to Milsim West is you have BBs issued to you and you get a limited amount per your class. For me as a rifleman, you're supposed to get 500 BBs. Here's the weird part, and again, this is my first event, so I don't know how common this is. For me, I never got 500 BBs issued to me ever. Right after the initial safety brief, when we split up between our two factions, and we rucked over to our starting area before we went out to our actual ruck march, I was in the back of that formation. I was not late or anything, I was just in the back of the formation of the line of people with rucksacks. We walked into our staging area, and by the time I had stepped foot into it, the guys were already dropped their rucks, had already issued out BBs, and they had none to give to me at first. Thankfully, me and a couple other guys in our squad found the rest of our squad, came together and said, hey, you know, cool, nice to meet you guys. Does anyone have any ammo? And they were able to give me some. I might have gotten like 300 BBs, and then later that night, around midnight-ish, they started passing around a speed loader in our patrol base, and I was able to top off in a mag or two. So probably at most, at any point, I had 400 BBs, which for most of the event, it really wasn't an issue, right until the end when we started going black on ammo. And though it is fun to have to swap mags and have the limits on ammunition and not just spraying and praying, it was kind of frustrating knowing at no point I had ever actually gotten a full issue of 500 BBs. If I had gotten the full issue of 500 BBs and I still ran black on ammo, then it's very easy to say, hey, that's 100% on you, you should have conserved your ammo more. But since I didn't, that kind of bugged me a little bit. Not to end the world, but that is a critique. I don't know what happened there. Or if that's normal for Milsim West or not. And then the last critique I had was this was a 24-hour event and not your standard 40-hour event. This is something I think Milsim West has done in the past, just not particularly recently. And you could tell they were kind of rough around the edges handling this because they have a certain system where they have more time to breathe with these 40-hour events, more time to plan, do rehearsals with the guys, have the personnel in each of your platoons get to know each other. That really didn't happen in this 24-hour event. There was never a layout of everyone's rucksacks to see if everyone actually brought their packing list. We didn't really have much time to get to know each other within the squads if you did not come as part of a particular team. For me, I was the only member of my team to show up, so yeah, I didn't really know many people. Thankfully, the Aussies, the guys who ran our squad, quickly put us into the fold, and they ran us quite well, but before that it was a little confusing. There was no like rehearsal, like there was no time any cadre or platoon leader gathered us around and said, hey guys, listen, you know, no one's shooting at us yet, this is what we're going to do, this is why we're doing it, you know, so if you guys understand, because there were a lot of new players there, including myself. We never really had that. When we got to the patrol base, we were pretty rushed. Like, I've occupied patrol bases before, I knew the basics, but the squad leaders were kind of working with the PL, and they didn't really know what to do with us at first. At first, they kind of tossed us into certain sectors once we cleared it. Then they readjusted us. It was not the smoothest. And then there was never really a talk afterwards, at least to the average Joe like me, about, you know, this is how it's supposed to go, this is what we went wrong. There wasn't really analysis like that. So stuff like that I did notice. I know for some guys there is a training value they can sometimes get out of these type of events. I don't know if they fully maximize that in this 24-hour one. So I would say that was my last big critique of the event. Overall, still fantastic. Some of the sustains was, one, the fact this is a 24-hour one. I really like the concept of that, because if you are new to Milsim West and you don't know how you're going to like it, or maybe you make a mistake with the packing list, you don't have to suffer for the full 40 hours to still complete the event, which I really appreciated. I know I highly enjoy being able to attend this event, so I'm glad that they're doing that. It looks like, tentatively, it looks like this might become an annual event on the East Coast here in North Carolina, which is my home state, which would be awesome. I would love to have a Milsim West annual event this close to home. I know many others in the area would as well. Another sustain was the AO itself. So this AO, from what I understand, was never used for Airsoft before, and it looks like if it's going to be used for future Airsoft events, it's really only going to be for these annual Milsim West events there each year. So it means there wasn't a lot of foot traffic on it. So if you go to an average Airsoft event or an Airsoft AO that has been heavily used before, you will find is a bunch of foot traffic, from prior events, a bunch of trash everywhere, BBs, discarded smoke and airsoft grenade canisters, and it essentially is a very used area. Going into an area like this where it's very rural, it's mainly just woodlands. Everything you saw that was man-made was probably from the enemy within the past 24 hours of that event. So if you saw a MRE wrapper in the ground or footprints in the snow, then you could really utilize your seals and other fundamentals on patrols and actually get that training value out of it, where you start to recognize certain things and there's actually value in that. Like if I was at an average airsoft event and I saw BBs or a BB bottle on the ground, I would say it's probably some guy from the last event. Here you saw that, we would have to halt patrol and say, hey, call that up, because that means the enemy was using that traffic on this trail a lot. This actually happened on one of our recon missions. We saw foot traffic in the snow of one of the trails that they took to attack us earlier that evening, and we were able to make note of that and pinpoint where their patrol base was as one of the factors contributing to that. So just something like as simple as that, it isn't really that simple, but it's actually incredibly useful to give you a very unique Milsim experience that Milsim West would provide, the other events would not. So that was really cool. I also say, just basically breaking your units down into platoons. It's shocking how many airsoft games don't even bother. I don't get it. I mean, something as basic as that isn't necessarily unique to Milsim West, but they do it, and a guy like me who wants to have a Milsim experience really does appreciate even small things like this, because they go a long way. Now, going into my personal AR and observations, again, the event itself was handled largely pretty well. I had a great time, but there was a lot that I could learn from. And ultimately, that's one of the big reasons I would go to an experience like this, because I want to learn what I can do better in and make myself better at not just airsoft, potentially other things outside of it. Patrolling, fundamentals, setting up patrol bases, digging fighting positions, these type of things, right? First and foremost was unfortunately the camera issue. So I already mentioned it in the first part of this video. I was not satisfied with a lot of the footage I collected from this event. And I did a lot of filming. I brought a bunch of batteries. It just didn't work out. First off, the scope cam, the camera I have at the end of my rifle, it never worked once. I was trying to milk it and not use it until later in the event to save battery life, and then when I did turn it on, it was already drained. I guess the cold got to it. Something that was interesting was seeing what electronic equipment I had in my rucksack was more resistant to the cold versus wasn't, and scope cam did not last long at all. I did have one of those portable batteries with the cord on it in my rucksack that did work for quite a few pieces of my equipment, especially my phone. But when I try to plug it into the scope cam, I use a different connector than what came out of the box for it, and it did not want to charge. So that was interesting. It's something I didn't really even think about until I was out there. GoPro was good. I had plenty of batteries for it. They held out quite well. I just didn't want to use it until the very end to save battery life because I was relying on a lot of the B-roll and some interchangeable or intermission footage to be used with the helmet cam that I had on the side of my helmet. That one, again, I talked about in the video already. That was very disappointing, opening up the file and finding that there's a giant piece of helmet scrim covering most of the screen. That sucked. I since then trimmed some of the helmet scrim on that side of my helmet. In addition, when I tried to charge that one, the same thing happened with the portable battery and the cord. It was not interchangeable as what came out of the box. So that really hindered my ability to recharge that as well. That was real freaking frustrating too. As for the NVG recorder, it's a simple left or right on it to turn it on and off. I don't know if I screwed it up during some of the patrols, but anytime I tried to get it ready for an assault we would do, I don't know what happened, but it wasn't recording. So I was not particularly satisfied with myself on that. That's something I can learn from. That's like a content creator side. Some of the X-Fogs I had, so I had spare X-Fogs, one on my helmet and then like 3 in my rucksack, because I just don't want to deal with fogging goggles. And occasionally you had it even in this weather with the snow on the ground. But I had on the outside sustainment pouch of one of my Alice rucksack pouches, and when I went to go to it, One of them was on, so somehow me brushing it or putting on the ground had turned it on. And then the other two, I think one was working, but it was like running real loud for some reason. I don't know if they got debris in there. And then the other one just did not want to turn on. And apparently the cold killed the battery. So placing those in a deeper part of my rucksack and making sure the buttons don't get pressed would be a good AAR comment on my end. And some of this stuff might seem kind of obvious for some of you, but for me, I'm not carrying that type of equipment usually on my ruck marches, because what airsoft game am I using a rucksack for that long? You know what I mean? So it's a good lesson there. Let's see here. Oh, I also forgot to mention the Baofeng radio I was using and my airsoft batteries all handled the cold perfectly fine. Again, it was really weird seeing which electronic equipment handled themselves well in the cold and which did not. Next one is terrain and weather. So weather I heavily overestimated. Spending some years in Alaska, I am not one to shy away from the cold. However, I did get complacent as I figured the snow that I was getting on the coastal region of the state was not as bad as the central part of the state where this event was being held. In addition, I said, yes, I have all this cold weather gear at home, but it's very bulky and heavy, so let me trim that down and just use some more stuff I've been used to using down here in North Carolina in comparison up in Alaska. I did bring some things to help me out, so the Eagle Industries hand warmer I had, that really helped out a lot. And then I brought my waffles and silks underneath. But the footwear really screwed me up. So I was using, I think it was Rocky or something like that, just these really basic summer combat boots. And they weren't all weather, they were especially lightweight summer boots in that weather. And the water leaked through pretty fast, the snow would melt and get through. And my feet would be pretty cold even when I would change out socks. So that was a pretty rough one for me. Those boots are also on the way out. I think they're starting to get some holes and cracks in them. So that was me, final nail in the coffin for those boots. I've moved to some Danier all-weather boots. They're not dedicated winter boots, but they are all-weather ones that would be a little bit better. And then I also still have some older Danier winter boots if I wanted to, though those are a bit bulkier. So going back to this event next year, I might decide between those two boots, but both are better options than the ones I had at that time. The other thing was terrain. So I knew we were nowhere near the mountains. I did not know how close and deep we were in the foothills. So I was expecting some pretty flat terrain with a bunch of pine trees, not the hilly terrain that we did have. It doesn't look like much on some of the cameras sometimes, but when you're traversing it with all your gear or rucksack plus snow on the ground, you quickly realize that this is a little easier said than done, sprinting at full speed going through this terrain. I would also say certain parts of the field, because of the snow weighing down a lot of the brush, it didn't look as bad as you would think, but from your shins down, you were slogging through a lot of this. The footage of the final day of the final big fight we had in those open fields, you may look and think, why am I not flanking and sprinting in certain directions? And it's because the camera does not do justice to how cumbersome it was to walk in that field. You kind of got a glimpse of it as we were crawling away from the field back down into the ditch at the end. But it was a very cumbersome time. In some of the areas where we were a little more secure, there was still a lot of potholes and like gopher holes around. Okay, the next point is more of an observation. So the snow. The snow was a weird experience. I've been through snow, of course, before, and I have done it in tactical gear before. Actually doing a force-on-4 situation in the snow is actually something pretty new to me. The snow was starting to get pretty crusty because it was starting to melt on top. So it would give a nice crunching sound as you were walking through the woods. It sounds like, from your perspective, a freaking elephant walking through the woods. And yet, from a distance, it was actually very hard to hear anything because it almost sounded like the snow was screwing up the acoustics of the forest, which really screwed your perception of what you could and could not hear. But in reality, both of you are actually quite quiet in those woods. Very, very different experience. Usually around here, I'm used to pine forest or swamp where as long as you go slow, you can step on the pine straw and the mud quite fine. In hot summer days, some of the leaves on the ground make a lot of noise that you can hear and the rustling of that. If it's raining, a lot of things get dampened down, you can be quiet. but the snow was very consistent in that regard for both you and the enemy, and it was just a different experience just walking through and doing that in a force environment. Here's another lesson learned. So usually when I was out there, I would have my tourniquet on my shoulder. I think I actually moved it to the right shoulder. I think that's because someone in our platoon wanted that to be an SOP. I believe that's what they did. But so I moved it over to the right, which was fine. This is probably the exact same blouse I used, easy enough to get in and out when I had this as my outer layer. At certain points in the event, I had a wet weather top over this as part of my cold weather gear. And there was a zipper I could pull right here to reach in, actually it's right here on the chest, to reach in, and then I could get to this pocket. The problem is that's not too hard doing sitting straight up. When you are covered in gear and multiple layers of cold weather gear and you are out and you need someone else to buddy aid you, it becomes easier said than done. During that first engagement that evening, after we finished establishing the patrol base, I got shot. And there was a guy who came over. He had to dig in here for almost like a full minute before I had to pull the tourniquet out myself and give it to him, which is not what you're supposed to do. So I learned my lesson after that. For the rest of the event, when I had the wet weather top on, I would put the tourniquet right here in my hand warmer pouch because there's a zipper component right there. And that's where I put it. And then once I took the layer off for the final day, I put it back up here, and I had no issues after that. That's a pretty novice mistake. I'm usually better than that, but I got pretty complacent with this cold weather, and I just made some assumptions like that, and it bit me in the butt later on. Here's another observation I saw. So wildlife. So we saw a lot of birds and owls. I don't think we saw bats, but a lot of flying creatures hanging around us in the woods out there. Now, usually, if a bunch of people are moving through the woods, the birds are going to stop singing, they're going to stop flying near you, and largely the wildlife will get very quiet. And in terms of the fundamentals of patrolling, that's usually a big red flag that something is up. This was a little more deceptive. I don't know if it was out of desperation of the snow starting to melt, and the birds wanted to try to get some food that were on the ground, but they did not give a crap about us. We are in the middle of a firefight with blank fire going on, and birds are flying all around us trying to eat something off the ground. It was kind of bizarre. If you've ever been out in the woods for any length of time, that's not usually how that works when there's a gun going off, even if it's blank fire. But the wildlife did not care, so I found that interesting. Next point is pyro consideration. So we are, for this AO, almost exclusively out in the woods, and it's just that, a bunch of pine trees and some shrubbery and whatnot. Because of that, I figured airsoft grenades would not be as important as smoke grenades, because in the winter time there's going to be a lot more gap between cover out there in those woods, and you want to use the smoke to cover your movement. And if you try to toss a grenade out in that forest, you're probably going to smack it against a tree, and it fly in the direction you don't want it to. As it would turn out, it was actually the opposite being true. The smoke grenades probably could have been more utilized, but we were fine with the ones we had. But especially that final day when we were out there in those open fields, those grenades really came in handy. I had more in my rucksack, but I did not pack as many as I should have for that final fight when we moved away from our rucksacks, because I didn't think it was going to be necessary. So I actually ran out of grenades by that second portion of that fight. I wish I had brought more. So that was a good point there, meaning even though you are in the woods, load up on grenades. Of course, still have a couple smoke grenades on you, but if you can, bring those grenades as well. Next point was NVG and thermal use. So thermals I'll start with because they were seen the least. I don't know how many were on the Rust 4 side. On our platoon side, there was only like 2 or 3 guys with thermals that I saw. One was in our squad. I think he had one on his gun that worked throughout the event, and then he had another one that he was having some issues with. But outside of him, thermal use was not seen much on our side, which is a shame. I get it, thermals are expensive, but those would have been a huge asset out there. And for those who had them, I know they did. As for night vision use, so night vision at a Milsim West event, as before I had showed up to my first one, I assumed it was semi-mandatory, just due to how much you're going to need it and how much of the event is going to be at night in comparison to all the other people walking around with good quality night vision. I still stand by that to a certain extent. I rented the PVS 14 for this event, and I'm glad I did. It would have been a big pain maneuvering at night without it. Well, actually, it would be more of a pain dealing with the Rust 4 without night vision. Maneuvering at night was actually pretty easy, even without night vision. And it was due to the snow on the ground in contrast to the darker colored forest. You can actually see the ground where you're walking in comparison where you're going ahead. In some cases, 80, 100 yards. In some cases, you can get a general direction where you're going. So if you did not bring night vision to this event, you would have been largely fine, ironically, due to the snow on the ground. With that said, when it came to actually dealing with force on force situations at night, your enemy is going to have a bunch of guys with night vision. You want to have the night vision as well. It really helped. Turning a flashlight on would have not ended well for you. And even the guys who didn't bring nods knew better than to do that. So, do you need night vision? Technically, no, but it really helps. It really helps going to these events with them. And again, a lot of people will do a night vision rental service if you do not have a good quality one of your own. Here's an AR point, is fighting position. So I have not dug a fighting position in like 6 years before this event. I did not practice beforehand. So when I got there and we got to the patroller's base, I kind of just dig, a giant pit. That was not ideal. There is a little more nuance to digging a good fighting position. And I was kind of looking to my left and right, seeing what some guys were doing. And I also found like the worst luck, like decided being frozen on the ground. I picked the one area of the patrol base where they're starting to get water pulled up at the bottom of my hole, so awesome. But no, I kind of looked over to see what other guys were doing and kind of made some mental notes, so I definitely want to practice more with that. A big one was I overpacked for this event. So my rucksack, I forgot how much it weighed. It was probably over 40 pounds, but I didn't need a bunch of ruck stuff in it. Alongside that, it impacted my ruck time. So during the ruck, it was only a short distance, like a mile and a quarter maybe. And I had like 5 people pass me. Granted, they put me up closer to the front for some reason. They probably shouldn't have. But still, I had about 5 people pass me during that distance. I think part of it, again, physical fitness is more important, but also part of that was the packing list I had in there. So one of the biggest things I did is I carried a spare rifle to this event, because my mentality was, if I'm spending all this money to attend this event and my primary gun goes down, I want to at least have something to shoot at people. There were quite a few people who took the risk, only took one gun, and were fine. Other people took one gun and were not fine. And many of them became medics. Some just used pyro if they had it. If someone else had a spare rifle, they gave it to them. But really, you were pretty hosed if you didn't have a working gun. Some people make the best of that. For me, I paid the money. I want to go shoot people. I want to go shoot people. With that said, that extra weight was pretty rough. Now, my primary gun was quite fine. It's been fine up to this point. The airsoft guns, they're very finicky. I still wanted something extra. Something recommended to me in the future is, if I'm going to do that again, maybe just bring the lower of the airsoft gun with the gearbox and motor in it. That's compatible with my shared upper, and that would cut the weight in half. That was actually a good idea. So I may do that in the future. I carried like way too much food. Like I brought enough food for like a day and a half, and like multiple MRE meals. Like I ate like half a bag of beef jerky and some meat sticks. That was it. The cold weather might have impacted it too. I wasn't particularly hungry, but I ate very little. For a longer 40-hour event, maybe that food packing list would make more sense, but for something like this, I could have chopped it in half, even maybe down to just 1/3. It would have been fine. Sleeping situation. So I slept maybe 3 hours at one point, late into the night. That was actually pretty good from what I heard about some events. Sometimes you get 0 sleep in some cases. Now, for weight saving and bulk, I did narrow down what I had was no sleeping mat. I did have a bivy cover and a whoopee and no sleeping bag. Again, going back to weather, if the snow wasn't there, I might have been a little more fine. But because there was snow on the ground and my feet were wet, it was a pretty uncomfortable night when I did bed down. I actually don't regret the sleeping pad. If I did this again, I would also not bring the sleeping pad. I would maintain the bivy cover, but instead replace the whoopee with a summer sleeping bag. Between that'll be a good mitigation of saving on bulk and weight while still having something better for the cold weather. And then some of the other stuff we talked about, like better footwear, would have definitely helped mitigate the feet issue, and that would have been a much more comfortable night. So that would have helped. But when we were out on patrols, you would warm up, including your feet, and you were fine. But anytime you went back to the patrol base, you got pretty cold. So that was one thing. Glow sticks. So we had chem lights. So we had chem lights. We had some SOP of like, hey, at this hour we're going to change to this color and wave at each other for IFF reasons, and we never did it. You know, maybe for the 40-hour events we do that. I would have liked it if we did, but we never did. So that was just another small item that was a waste on my packing list. So I brought 7.5 liters of water to this event. So that's 5.5 in the rucksack, and then I had the 2-liter canteens, the 2 1-liter canteens on my LB kit. I only used 2 liters, and then I drank 2 16-ounce medic bottles for this event. So even if I take into account a 40-hour event, I still could have lost, what, a liter and a half minimum out of that packing list, and that would have saved a bunch of weight as well. So it also, you know, it was cold. You know, hot summer months, I would probably have drunken a lot more. But overall, again, that's just another big thing I could have saved weight on. So a lesson there. So with that said, who won? At Milsim West events is usually not a designated winner or loser because they don't base on any point system. However, what I will say is, looking at it from a NATO perspective, I thought Rust 4 had more players at the beginning of the event. They had more players at the end of the event, even in spite of them also having attrition issues. Also found that they bounded and moved as a unit together more. I don't know if that's because they had more experienced players or they actually did conduct rehearsals or whatnot in free time that we did not. However, I did notice they seemed to move a little better than we did, and I think they were also way more aggressive. So at the night portion, both sides would send patrols out to pepper each other's patrol bases. I think Rust 4 would numerically attack us more than we did by at least 1 or 2 raids. So again, props to them. Props to the Rust 4 crew out there. You guys were a fantastic adversary. So final thoughts. I would say I had a blast, great amount of lessons learned, which is what I wanted, right? Milsim West is supposed to be a challenge in comparison to other Airsoft games, and I thoroughly enjoyed that challenge. With that said, I will be back next year if they do it again, and I hope you guys will be too. So if you're ever interested in attending a Milsim West event here on the East Coast, here in North Carolina, if they do it again, just a 24-hour one, get your feet wet, see what you think about it, and yeah, I'll see you guys out there. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.